This is the second time I've started this project, but I got stuck, so I put it back together, and now we're trying it again. This is a 1978 Kawasaki KM100, distant ancestor to the KX100. I bought it a few years ago for Camera Girl to ride. She didn't really take to it. Our son likes it though. He's been riding it around. Even crashed a few times, pushing his limits. I'm so proud of him. This motorcycle runs, it can be ridden, but almost none of the electrical components work. I think it's a common scenario for this to happen, especially with older motorcycles, because for a lot of people, all that matters is that they can ride the bike. They don't need a brake light or a horn. And I can sympathize with that mindset. But there's another part of me that likes it when everything works. And that's the side of my personality we'll indulge today. The first thing I want to do is start the motor and show you what works and what doesn't. So we'll have a baseline. I think the only electrical component that will function right now is the headlight. And that should turn on as soon as the engine starts. Ready?
Yeah.
Good running little machine. I almost said it starts on the first kick, but glad I didn't. Or second kick. Headlight? Yeah, okay. So the headlight works. Come around here. The horn is silent. Left turn signal. Nothing. And right turn signal. Doesn't work either. Come around back here now. Let me know if you lose consciousness from the smoke, okay?
Okay.
Whenever the headlight is on, the tail light should be on, but it's not. And I'll activate the brake light switch. Nothing. So that's what we're working with. Most of the electrical system of the motorcycle lives underneath the seat. So we'll take it off. This is a 6-volt electrical system. You can always tell a 6-volt battery from a 12-volt because 6-volt battery has 3 filler holes. 12-volt battery has 6.
It's a lot of filler holes.
I tested it yesterday, and the battery has a slight charge, but it's not anywhere near 6 volts. But the fact that it has anything is a good sign. Sitting right at 2.35 volts DC. Usually when the battery doesn't have the voltage that it should, it means either the battery is bad or the charging system isn't charging. I don't know if the battery is good or bad, but we can test to see if it charges by plugging my multimeter leads into the connectors that the battery was plugged into. Yesterday, I already determined that I don't think these are the correct connectors for the battery, but I'm going to test again today to show you guys and to make sure I didn't make a mistake. I'm always skeptical when I have different colors of wire going into a connector. This is a red and white wire going into a red wire on the battery. So I'll start it up now. Since it's a 6-volt battery, we should see about 7 volts on the multimeter. Not quite. So we have a problem here.
Ooh.
Might have 2 problems if I am not more careful with my multimeter. So at this point, knowing that the lights don't work, the battery doesn't work, I need to have a plan of how to sort out why they aren't functioning. What I like to do is first eliminate everything that isn't factory original from the wiring system. I can tell right away these turn signals are not from 1978.
Okay.
Another thing about them too is I think these are 12 volt turn signals.
Oh.
And it's a 6 volt system. So either I don't know the difference between a 12 volt and a 6 volt turn signal, or somebody didn't have a good grasp of this machine's electrical system.
I know which is more likely.
So I'll disconnect this, which is a turn signal, and this, which is a turn signal. So you can tell that there's been modifications here. We've got the tape, we've got the red going to the black and white. I'll put these aside for right now because they're not Kawasaki parts, and continue going through these other wires to see if I notice anything else that looks suspicious. Here we have brown and white going to brown, which may be wrong. I'll take this off altogether. I think this is part of the factory wiring, but I don't know where it goes, so we'll leave it over here until I can figure it out. Okay, this is the tail light. I can tell this isn't original equipment because the wires are much thinner than on the rest of the motorcycle.
Oh, okay.
And we have a brown ground wire. I think the correct ground wire color for this bike is black with a white stripe. Could be wrong, but pretty sure it's not brown. These go to the brake light switch, which is down here, connects to the spaghetti noodle pedal.
Shouldn't show your spaghetti noodle on the internet.
Mamma mia! The brake light switch isn't hooked up to anything. We also have a turn signal flasher switch. This is what makes the blinkers blink. And it is a 6 volt part, which is good. So we'll leave all this how it is for now, disconnected, but not misconnected. Next step is to remove the gas tank, because there's a lot of wires under here we can investigate. When we bought the motorcycle, I didn't like the gas tank. This is custom painted. The original gas tank was a really nice metallic blue with Kawasaki written on the side, and I was disappointed that it was just this black and white spray can job. But I've learned to like it. You know why?
I can guess.
Because somebody spent time and care to create this. This was the vision in someone's mind, and they created it. I don't know who it was. Maybe Travis and his friends after school, but more effort was put into this tank than any factory gas tank. So even though I don't like the aesthetic, I appreciate all the work that went into it. Was that poetic?
Yeah.
Underneath the gas tank, you can see we have more wires, more connectors. I don't pretend to know what any of this does. All I'm looking for is any evidence that it's been monkeyed with, or any cut or frayed wires, and to make sure we have matching colors connected to each other. Even though I don't understand a lot of what I'm looking at, the more time I spend out here getting familiar with the project, the more clarity will come, even involuntarily. So this all looks good. The only thing that seems out of place is this butt connector. The factory never uses this type of connection. Somebody cut that wire and had to put it back together again, or maybe they replaced the coil. The coil has been off because I see a hex head bolt over here and a pan head screw over there. This is all detective work, trying to get in the mind of whoever worked on this thing over the past 45 years. After 45 years, it's bound to have been altered. I'm taking off the headlight next because Usually there's wires in here. Yeah. So the headlight looks like it's connected correctly, and it works, which is the best indicator that it's connected right. I'll go through here and unplug everything that's either obviously not original equipment or I'm just not confident about.
Will anything be left?
Just this. I tidied up the headlight bucket, and when I was working in here, decided that black with a yellow stripe is probably the ground wire. The headlight and 2 turn signals connect to this, and all 3 of those need a ground wire. Black with a yellow stripe is the only one here with provisions for that. The mystery that I haven't solved yet is what these 3 are for. I have a positive wire for each turn signal, but 3 connectors. I'll figure that out later though. It's not important right now. The only electrical components I haven't talked about yet are the speedometer, which connects behind the headlight right here, the ignition switch, which is this bundle of connections I investigated earlier, and the left handlebar switch. It connects down here as well. Oh, and the alternator. Forgot about that. The alternator provides power to the entire system. Its wires come up here and plug into this connector. The wiring for all of these components looks like it hasn't been tampered with, which is great. One time, I bought a motorcycle that had all of the wires for the ignition switch cut. And I had to put them all back together just to see if it ran.
Did you use butt splice connectors?
I used wire nuts. If you guys want to see this video, I'll put a link to it in the description. So let's come over here and see if we can make this battery charge. Negative terminal of the battery almost universally has continuity with the chassis of the motorcycle. Makes it easier that way for wiring. If you have one side of all the lights going to the chassis as ground, you only need to run one positive wire to everything. You don't need to run a negative wire as well. So I'll grab my tester.
Hopefully still works.
Hopefully still works. And if I have continuity between this black and yellow wire and this bolt, that's a good indication that it is my ground. Well, I think it is. There. Yeah. Looks good. So I will connect the battery terminal here. We'll call that good until proven otherwise and move forward. About right here is where I got hung up yesterday because I didn't know how to connect any of this stuff. The best thing you can do for yourself if you have an old motorcycle with wiring that's confusing and looks like a rat's nest is to get yourself a wiring diagram. I couldn't find one yesterday, but since then I found one. But I didn't print it so we could use it. So hold on just a minute. This diagram shows that either a white wire or blue and white wire, can't tell which, connects to the positive terminal of the battery. Red and white, which is what was connecting to the battery, is supposed to go to the tail light. So that's a good reason to not have voltage when I tested it a minute ago. So coming over here, I'll try to make the motorcycle wiring match the drawing. These probably go together because they're both white. And this connector plugs into the rectifier down here. On my diagram, the rectifier is represented by a triangle with a line next to it. And it's what converts the AC power coming out of the alternator into DC power. Do you know why it does that? You know why it does that.
Because the battery needs DC,
Right. You
not
can't,
AC.
Right. You can't store AC power in a battery. So based on the wiring diagram and the different ways I could hook this up, I think the positive terminal of the battery most likely goes here to the white wire. But I have a fuse here for safety, so we'll run it through that first. And this should go here. I think that accounts for everything as far as charging the battery, except for this. I still don't know where it goes, but I located a clue that I hope will help me figure it out. If you're in a situation where you don't know where a certain component goes, or you might be missing a component but aren't sure, a really good resource to figure out what's going on is eBay. I searched on there for battery boxes and wire harnesses for KM100s, trying to find a picture of this thing. And here's what I found. Both of these listings show the brown and white lead of the mystery part plugged into the output side of the rectifier. Using this information, I figured out two possibilities of how to integrate the new part into the system. But I don't think either of these is an improvement over how I already have it hooked up. So I'll leave it my way. And we can see if I'm right or wrong if we plug this in again, start up, see what the voltage says, see if the battery charges.
Do you have enough gas in the carburetor, or do you need to reattach the fuel tank?
There should be enough gas in the carburetor. There's my black lead. And the red should be a little over 2 volts going to it. Yeah.
Ooh.
We've charging already. Okay, keep an eye on this. Maybe it'll charge, maybe it'll explode. Maybe I'll smash that headlight when I try to kickstart the motorcycle. I think I'll move that. I hope this works. Seems like a good way to fry the battery, doesn't it? I don't know what to make of that. There's a chance the multimeter's wrong.
You did drop it.
I did drop it. I'm pretty sure it's hooked up right. And I'm tired of trying to figure out where these wires go. I think we should hook up some things.
Sure.
And see if they work. For example, the tail light is going to be one of these wires. Take your pick. Taillight and brake light assembly usually has a ground and a brake light and a tail light filament. And at this point it doesn't matter which. So we'll hook up one of these to the tail light. I wonder if it'll turn on just when I switch the key on. Maybe the battery took a charge? No.
Or it's wrong.
Wishful thinking. Let's start it up and see what happens now. Might run out of gas. Oh, I need to turn the headlight on. Oh, look at that!
Oh!
I didn't have the key in the right position. I should mention that this key has 2 positions, on and headlight.
Okay.
And when the headlight comes on, the tail light comes on. I think that's promising enough to continue. Battery doesn't seem hot. Do you think we're on the right track, or is it more likely there is a fatal flaw in my reasoning?
I think you're on the right track.
Cool.
We'll see if there's a tree ahead of you.
We'll see if they've finished the bridge yet.
Yeah.
These two wires, I bet, are the turn signals. Green and gray. This is a turn signal wire. That light lit up pretty good. I wonder if that's a 12-volt bulb or a 6-volt bulb. Either one will work if you've got 28 volts going through it though. These are the positive turn signal wires. The negatives are already connected to the frame. Next thing we'll hook up is these two, which is the brake light switch. Only reason I know that is because I followed this down to the brake light switch. I have blue and brown. Only makes sense to plug the brown into this matching brown wire going into the harness. Blue, where does this go? I bet this goes here to the other filament of the taillight brake light assembly, but it just doesn't work.
Incompatible.
Incompatible.
You need to keep trying.
No. What about this?
Oh.
There's a use for it after all. There. Turn signals are connected. Tail light and brake light are connected. I'll put the gas tank back on. This will be turn signal test and brake light test. Okay. Tail light is on. Now when I pull the brake, it should brighten up more. Ready?
Yeah. Less when you push the brake.
Less. Okay.
Looks like it. Push the brake.
Okay, brake.
Yeah, it's less.
Well, we'll come back to that. We'll try the turn signals now. Left turn signal.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right turn signal.
Yeah. Seemed like when you applied the turn signals, the brake light was flashing too.
It's because the battery is dead.
Ah.
When those probably 12-volt turn signals pull all the juice, it takes away from the tail light. I wonder if the battery is taking a charge. We've ran the motor enough that if I have it hooked up right, it should be. Whoa!
Okay.
Might be onto something here. What if I turn the headlight on but not start the engine? If the battery truly has voltage, the taillight should light up.
There's nothing.
Oh, and look at this. We dropped right down to almost nothing.
Oh, you sucked it dry.
Sucked it right dry. If I turn it off, it jumps right back to 3 volts. So we've got a weakling on our hands. I think what we should do is end the video here and put the battery on the charger overnight, see if it takes a charge. I fear we might have to buy a new battery. But if all we have to buy is a new battery to make everything work, that'll be good. Well, and new turn signals. Did I mention how proud I am of him? Love that boy. We'd have to buy new turn signals anyway because I think these are 12-volt turn signals and probably a 12-volt tail light. Oh, before we go, I can think of one more other thing to check out. Take this apart and see if it's a 12-volt bulb or a 6-volt bulb. See how there's 2 filaments in there? One is the tail light and one is the brake light. I can't see any markings. All I see is China. So it may be 6 volts, but I think it's 12 volts. When you said it got dimmer, it probably was illuminating both filaments, but because they were both going at the same time, it drew so much power, overall it got dimmer. We'll do one more test before we say goodbye. Well, there's the tail light. I'll pull the brake light. Yeah. So the circuit's working, it just doesn't have enough voltage to brighten up the tail light and the brake light at the same time. We'll charge the battery, let you guys know what happens. Thanks for watching.